Hello and welcome to Sturgeon classes. This is our second video in the polity section. As I have mentioned earlier, we are going to conduct live sessions over Zoom through our website. You can visit our website and have a look by yourself regarding the various courses and their minimal fees. We have kept very minimal fees as compared to the quality that we provide. In India, you won't find it anywhere else. So please visit our website, please log into our website, subscribe to our courses. Through these recorded sessions of polity section, we will try to deliver most of the things regarding UPSC polity, general studies. The remaining portions which we won't be able to provide it here, those things would be conducted during our live classes. So you can attend our live classes to avail the full detailed analysis and benefits of reading Indian polity. So now let's move on to today's topic. Our topic of discussion right now is amendment of Constitution. In the previous video, if you have not watched it, please watch it. It is being appear in the top. In the previous video, we have discussed regarding the various historical backgrounds of Indian Constitution. Like what were the British Acts? Those were framed that found a place or inspired our constitution makers to give it a place in Indian Constitution. Today in this video, we will be discussing in details regarding the various amendment procedures that are formulated in Indian Constitution. First of all, the question arises, is amendment necessary? Is amendment to the Constitution is necessary? Is it necessary? What do you think? Does Constitution requires to be amended regularly, or a fixed Constitution would be in good and better for all? Yes, amendment to a Constitution is highly necessary because with the lapse of time, with passage of time, societies change, economies change, economical orders change, people change, literacy changes, socio-economic conditions changes, and going through all these changes, laws and acts also needs to be changed, or else how can we govern the changing society? In order to govern the society, we need to frame laws. If the society is changing, our laws and acts must also be evolving, must also be changed. And how can we change our laws and acts in order to be in line with the changing society? By amending the Constitution, by changing the Constitution wherever and whenever it is necessary. So that through the Constitution, we could amend Constitution and make laws and acts those are constitutional in nature. Now, let's look at the various types of Constitution present in the world. There are widely two types of Constitution. One is rigid and other type is flexible. Rigid Constitution and flexible Constitution. What do you mean by rigid Constitution? Any Constitution or any written Constitution which can be rarely amended or changed is termed as rigid Constitution. Rarely amended, why? Because the procedures to change the Constitution are really stringent, they are bulky, it is time consuming. So unless and until the higher need arises to change the Constitution, no one would be willing to amend this rigid constitution. No one would be willing to amend this constitution. And what do you mean by flexible constitution? Just the opposite. Any constitution which can be amended, changed with very minimal efforts could be termed as your flexible constitution. Very minimal efforts. Minimal efforts to amend the constitution, then we can say it as flexible constitution. So, what do you think about our Indian constitution? What do you think about our Indian constitution? Do you think Indian constitution is a rigid constitution, or do you think Indian constitution is a flexible constitution? I hope you guys are in a dilemma. So, in order to pass the judgment, in order to pass your answer, you have to know some facts about rigid constitution and some facts about flexible constitutions. So, let's first of all take an example of a rigid constitution. Which constitution in the world can be termed as rigid? US. The United States of America has a rigid constitution in place. And because the US constitution is termed rigid because till date only 27 constitutional amendments have been done into the US constitution. Till date, over a period of more than 200 years of independence, the US constitution has only been amended 27 times. Now let's compare this with India. After independence, India has more than 70 years of independence right now. So, with this just more than 70 years of independence, India's constitution has undergone 105 amendments. Almost. It may be either 104 or 105. It is approximate to 105 amendments has been made to Indian constitution. So, can we say that Indian constitution is a rigid constitution? No. We cannot directly say that Indian constitution is a rigid constitution. Now let's take a look about the flexible constitution. What are the examples of flexible constitution? The Great Britain. British constitution is a flexible constitution. It can be changed with very minimal efforts. Remember, Britain does not have a written constitution. So, if we will take the reality into aspect, the reality is with every change in government, the entire constitution changes. You can say that once the government changes, the government of the British changes, the Prime Minister changes, the constitution changes. Is that happening in India? Is in India after change of a government or after change of a party in power, is our constitution totally been discarded or is it changed completely? Is it happening in India? The answer is clearly no. Whoever comes to power, whichever party remains in power, the constitution remains as it is and functions as it is. It is not changing. So can we say that Indian constitution is a flexible constitution? No. So you might be thinking, if Indian constitution is neither a rigid constitution nor a flexible constitution, then why did you put up the question that what do you think regarding Indian Constitution? Now I will come to the answer. Don't hesitate. The answer is Indian Constitution is a synthesis of both rigid as well as flexible constitutions. Indian Constitution is a synthesis of rigid constitution and flexible constitution. It has some rigid features in it and also it has some flexible features in it, making Indian Constitution neither rigid nor flexible. How Indian Constitution gets amended, right? So, Indian Constitution, for amending the Indian Constitution, the provision has been provided in the Constitution itself. That means Constitution itself provides the provision for amending it. Where does the provision is there? In part 20. In part 20 of the Indian Constitution, Article 368, Article 368 of Part 20 of Indian Constitution provides the provision for amending the Constitution. Regarding all the various parts and the schedules, you can join into our live sessions. We will be discussing there in detail regarding the various parts that are present in detail in the Indian Constitution and the various schedules also those are present in Indian Constitution. So, Part 20 of Indian Constitution contains Article 368 that deals with amendment of Constitution. It states that Parliament in its constituent power may amend the Constitution by addition, by variability, and by repeal. It states that Parliament in its constituent power can amend the Constitution by addition, by variability, or by repealing in accordance with the procedure laid down in the Constitution itself. So, what do you mean by addition, variability, and repeal? If a provision if a provision is provided in the Constitution and we need some extra addition to it because it is being insufficient with the changing times to govern the nation, then we can add some more provisions to it. So that would be called as addition. If we want to modify the existing act or existing feature of the Constitution, then it would be termed as the variability. And if we want to completely omit something present in the Constitution because Parliament feels that this feature or this act present in the Indian Constitution has become completely obsolete and it is of no use as of now, neither in the future itself. So let's omit it altogether. Then that would be called as repeal. So through addition, through variability and through repeal, Parliament of India can amend the Constitution under Article 368 present in Part 20 of the Indian Constitution. So does Parliament have the power to amend each and every aspect of the Constitution? Is it so? No. In the Keswananda Bharati case versus State of Kerala, Supreme Court ruled that Parliament can amend the Constitution in whichever way it likes, but it cannot amend the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. Parliament has no power in order to amend the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. And what is basic structure? Supreme Court came up with doctrine of basic structure. Remember, this is a very significant aspect and outcome of Keswananda Bharati case, doctrine of basic structure. Supreme Court came up with doctrine of basic structure and said that Parliament can amend as it wishes, amend the constitution as you wish, but you cannot touch to the basic structure of the constitution. And what is basic structure? That will be decided by the judiciary. So Parliament cannot amend the basic structure of constitution, and regarding the details of doctrine of basic structure, we will be dealing that in our next video. Keep updated. Keep updated, visiting our channel. You will find the next video, doctrine of basic structure, here only in the polity section. So now let's take a look at the various procedures that are present in order to amend the Indian Constitution. So the number first provision is, it could be initiated, the amendment procedure can be initiated by introduction of a constitutional amendment bill. At first, a constitutional amendment bill is introduced. Who can introduce it? It can be introduced either by a minister or a private member of either of the houses of the parliament. So, question arises, okay, minister, it is understood. Who is a private member? All other members of parliament who are not the ministers in the government are known as private members. They could be either from the ruling party or from the opposing party. Both the ruling as well opposing party members who are not ministers, they are private members. So it can be introduced in either of the houses of parliament, either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha, by both ministers as well as private members. In short, we can say MPs, any member of parliament, can initiate a constitutional amendment bill in either house of the parliament, but constitutional amendment bill cannot be introduced in state legislatures. You cannot introduce constitutional amendment bills in state legislatures. No, it cannot be done. So it can only be introduced in the parliament, and prior permission of president is also not required in order to introduce the constitutional amendment bill. So after introduction of the constitutional amendment bill, it must be passed by special majority, by a special majority by both the houses. Both the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha must pass the constitutional amendment bill through a special majority. What is a special majority? Majority of the total members of the house, majority of the total members of the house plus 2/3 votes of the members present and voting. So let's take the example of Lok Sabha. The present strength of Lok Sabha is 545, 543. Okay. So the 50% of 543, more than 50% of 543 must vote in favor of the constitutional amendment bill that has been brought to in the floor of the house. And plus, if this condition is satisfied, would it be considered that the bill has been passed from Lok Sabha? No. Plus 2/3 of the members who are present and voting. In the total membership, there might be some vacancies arise out of some resignations, some party changes, some member might have expired, some died. Therefore, some vacancies might be occurring, but it would not be taken into consideration. 50% of 543 must be there, and so those vacancies, they would remain absent, and some absentees might also be there in the parliament. So from present and voting, from those members who are present in the house and they are voting in the bill either in for or against, out of those members, 2/3 of the members must vote in favor of the bill, constitutional amendment bill that has been introduced. If these two conditions are satisfied, then only this constitutional amendment bill would be considered as passed by that particular house. And one more thing, both the houses, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, must pass this bill separately. In case of a deadlock, no joint sitting has been provided in order to vote for a constitutional amendment bill. So, separately both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, must pass this bill. Then only it would be considered that this constitutional amendment bill has been passed by Parliament. So, what happens if this bill contains some federal provisions? If this constitutional amendment bill contains to amend some federal provisions of the constitution, then another criteria has been added. If it is touching to the federal provisions mentioned in the constitution, then after passage from both the houses, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, through a special majority, even 50% of the states present in India must ratify. 50% of states must ratify this constitutional amendment bill. That is, they would be passing this constitutional amendment bill in their state legislatures. So how this ratification would be considered? State legislatures can pass this bill through simple majority. So if more than 50% of the Indian states pass this constitutional amendment bill through a simple majority through their state legislatures, then that constitutional amendment bill containing federal provisions in it would be considered as legal to present before the president. Now, president's role comes in. Once all these procedures are followed, both the houses passed the bill through special majority, and if that bill contains some federal provisions, even the state legislatures passed it through simple majority. More than 50% of Indian states have passed it through simple majority. Now the bill will be presented to president. What will be the role of president? The president of India is bound to give his assent to the constitutional amendment bill, bound to provide his or her assent to the presented constitutional amendment bill. The president is bound, and this one, that the binding power, the president has been bound to give his or her assent to the constitutional amendment bill. This provision has been made through the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1971. Before this 24th Constitutional Amendment Act, brought in 1971, the president was not bound to give his or her assent to any constitutional amendment bill. But after the passage of the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1971, the president became bound to give his or assent to a constitutional amendment bill if it has passed all the criteria and has reached upon to him or her for assent. Types of amendment. Broadly, there are three types of amendments considered. So what are these three types? Let's mention one by one. Three types. Those types of amendment that could be passed or require a simple majority. Simple majority of the parliament is required in order to pass such constitutional amendment bills are considered one type. Another type is those constitutional amendment bills that require special majority. Special majority of both the houses of parliament. Now the third type that comes are those constitutional amendment bills which we have discussed earlier. Those constitutional amendment bills that contain federal provisions, so the states' role will come into play here. So this will require special majority of the parliament as usual, plus 50% states assent. Special majority of the parliament, through special majority, the parliament must pass these types of CABs, that is the constitutional amendment bills, and also 50% states of Indian territory must provide their assent. Then only such types, those are the third type. And this simple majority, those bills which could be, those features that could be amended through simple majority of parliament, they are kept out of the purview of Article 368. They are kept out of the purview of Article 368. These are in the purview of Article 368 of the Part 20 of Indian Constitution, but this is not present in the purview of Article 368 of the Constitution. So now we will look into the various kinds of features of all these three types of the amendment and read in detail about all the three types of the amendment of Constitution. So now let's look at the various features, provisions that could be amended by simple majority of parliament. Admission, creation, abolition, formation, alteration of states. Creation of new states, alteration of boundaries, creation of new states, alteration of boundaries of existing states, alteration of boundaries of existing states could be amended through a simple majority. Further, abolition or creation of legislative councils in the states could be granted by the parliament through simple majority. Legislative councils of states, although this matter is related to a state, still it is not a federal aspect. Remember that it only requires a simple majority of the parliament to give its assent to go ahead with formation or abolition of the legislative council in a particular state. What else could be formed through simple majority? Quorum. We know that the existing quorum in the parliament is 10% of the total members. If 10% of the total members in the parliament is not present, then the business of that day could not be conducted in parliament. So through what could this quorum be decided? Through a simple majority by the parliament, quorum can be decided. Further, salaries of MPs, president, speaker and all other constitutional functionaries could be decided through simple majority of parliament. Further, your delimitation commission. Delimitation commission. What is the job of delimitation commission? Delimitation commission constitutes your constituency boundaries during elections. Suppose New Delhi has 7 MPs. Who decides the boundaries of all those 7 constituencies of New Delhi? It is your delimitation commission ensures the smooth functioning and demarcation of the constituency boundaries before election. So regarding delimitation commission, parliament can take decision through a simple majority. Further, regarding administration of your union territories, parliament can take decision through a simple majority. Regarding your official language, the constitution can be amended through a simple majority of the parliament. So these are the important features. In M. Laxmikant you will find some more features as well, but these are the most important features which you must have to remember, that what are the features that could be amended in the constitution by a simple majority of the parliament. So most important are these. So now let's take a look at the various provisions that could be amended of the Indian Constitution by the type 2, that is by just a special majority of the Indian Parliament. So by looking at this only, we can say that majority of the provisions could be amended through a special majority only. Majority of the provisions of amendment in the Indian Constitution could be amended only through a special majority of both the houses of Indian Parliament. Such as, for example, you can take your fundamental rights. In order to amend your fundamental rights, special majority of both the houses of the Parliament are enough. Your directive principles of state policy, in order to amend your DPSPs, that are directive principle of state policies, special majority is only enough to amend the constitution. Special majority of both the houses of Parliament. And all other provisions that are to be amended and are not present in type 1 and type 3. Type 1 is the one which we discussed just now, that is just by a simple majority, and type 3 are those which contain federal provisions, therefore they require ratification by more than 50% of the states. Apart from all those provisions provided in type 1 and type 3, all those provisions could be amended through a special majority or in both the houses of the Indian Parliament. So now let's take a look at the third type of amendment procedure, that is special majority of both the houses of Parliament as well as consent of more than 50% of states. So what are the provisions? We know very well that these constitutional amendment bills contain federal provisions. Hence, the consent of states are required in order to make it to present before the president for his or her assent. So what are the provisions? These are election of the president and the manner of the election. Election and the manner of the conduction of election of the president of India. Further, the provisions of the 7th schedule. Seventh schedule. With what does seventh schedule deal with? Seventh schedule contains union list, state list, and concurrent lists. There are various schedules in the Indian Constitution. To read all those schedules, please join us in our live classes. We will be discussing all those schedules present in the Indian Constitution in detail and in an elaborative manner. So now we will look into this topic. This contains also your provisions regarding your Supreme Court and your High Courts. If any constitutional amendment bill mentions amending regarding anything to Supreme Court and High Courts, then it is considered as a federal provision and hence ratification of states is a must. Further, representation of states in parliament. Representation of states. Where does states represent in a parliament? Where does states represent in parliament? In the upper house. Rajya Sabha, also known as Council of States. So, representation of states in parliament is considered as a federal provision. Hence, in order to amend anything related to this, consent of the states is required. Hence, 50% of states need to vote in favor of that constitutional amendment bill in order to amend the constitution. So now what happens if 50% of the states provided their consent, 20% of the states rejected it, and 30% of the states have not taken any decision regarding the constitutional amendment bill? Would that constitutional amendment bill be brought into effect? Yes. The moment 50% of the states of India give their consent to the constitutional amendment bill, then only it could be amended, not regard to the decision of the rest of the states. They might reject it completely or they might not take any decision. It does not depend on their opinion at all. So now let's take a look at the various criticisms that are being held in regard to the procedures followed for amending the Indian Constitution. Many critics argue that in order to amend Indian Constitution, there is not a special body. The Parliament only amends it. In USA, we have a constitutional convention in place that looks after amending constitution. Constitutional convention is present in USA in order to amend the constitution. But in India, we don't have any special body for amending the constitution. Our parliament only initiates its amendment. The second important criticism that is being put to is states cannot initiate amending the constitution. States cannot initiate any constitutional amendment. No constitutional amendment bill can be initiated by a state, but in USA, states can initiate a constitutional amendment bill. The next important criticism that the critics argue is no time limit has been prescribed by the Constitution. No time limit has been prescribed by the Constitution for the states to ratify the constitutional amendment bill. As I have said again and again, that those CABs, constitutional amendment bills having federal provisions, should be ratified by more than 50% of the states. So, to ratify those, the states has not been provided any time limit. No time limit has been provided in order to pass it or reject the provisions of the Constitutional Amendment Bill by the states. Further, the Constitution of India does not provide for a facility of joint sitting of Indian Parliament. Joint sitting is not entertained in case of a constitutional amendment bill, but we know that joint sitting can be held with respect to an ordinary bill, but joint sitting cannot be entertained in case of constitutional amendment bill. Both the houses of parliament must pass the constitutional amendment bill with a special majority separately. That means Lok Sabha must pass it with a special majority and Rajya Sabha also must pass it with a special majority. Despite all these drawbacks that are being cited by some of the various critics, famous critics, Indian Constitution has stood up to expectations, making it easy to amend whenever required and not being most flexible enough, not being a toy in the hands of the ruling party or the government to change it whenever and wherever they feel it to do so. So it has stood up to expectations until today. Casey Huir called Indian Constitution. Casey Huir called it that it strikes a good balance. Strikes a good balance between flexibility and rigidity. Casey Huir, with respect to Indian Constitution, has said that the Indian Constitution strikes a good balance between flexibility and rigidity. Hence, our Constitution has stood up to our aspirations, and despite all these drawbacks, it has also its various benefits and advantages as well. So if you like this video, if you love this video, if you find this video beneficial for you in your preparation for UPSC Civil Services, then please like this video, share this video, comment on the comment section, and if you want to join in our live classes to understand the matters very deeply, to understand how the questions are put to by the UPSC to its aspirants, and to have a practice of all these along with the revisions, then you can log into our website. The website has been provided in the comment section below with the description of this video. You can log into our website, subscribe to our live classes, and please don't forget to subscribe to StudyGenie channel in YouTube and press the bell icon.